source that whenever former President Donald Trump's security detail was denied access to more resources or manpower, it was because the Secret Service was too thin. But we're told last Saturday's rally was not one of those instances. In fact, U.S. officials insist that security detail was enhanced because of an Iranian assassination plot against Trump's life. So, Shannon, now the question is, how was a 20-year-old gunman able to get past droves of law enforcement?
Take a look at what happened.
Lawmakers, briefed by the FBI, are now demanding answers as to why former President Donald Trump was allowed to take the rally stage when law enforcement had been looking for a suspicious person nearly an hour before. The former president telling Jesse Waters he wonders the same thing too.
And you had Trumpers screaming, a woman in the red shirt. She was screaming, "There's a man on the roof," and then other people said, "There's a man on the roof who's got a gun," and that was quite a bit before I walked onto the stage. So you would have thought somebody would have done something about it.
Thomas Crooks, quickly identified as a person of interest for his strange behavior near the metal detectors. A little more than 30 minutes before the shooting, Crooks is then spotted with a golf rangefinder, and officers begin circulating this photo in an effort to track him down.
Yeah, look, there he is.
But by the time rallygoers spotted Crooks on the roof of a warehouse building, it was too late. A federal source says investigators believe Crooks hid his father's AR-15 style rifle near an AC unit that he used to climb to the roof. A local officer assigned to traffic detail was lifted to the roof by a fellow officer, but had to retreat once the gunman's weapon was pointed towards him. Moments later, Crooks fired, leaving Trump bloodied, 2 people injured, and retired firefighter Corey Comparator killed. Hundreds of first responders turning out for a solemn farewell in Pennsylvania on Friday. A Secret Service sniper killed Crooks with what a source calls a, quote, 1 in a million shot. Next to Crooks' body, a cell phone and remote transmitter were found. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle told ABC News Crooks fired from a building outside the security perimeter, an area she says was delegated to local and state law enforcement. But local and state police say that's not true, as federal investigators dig through Crooks' encrypted social media accounts with servers based overseas. A federal law enforcement source tells Fox News a local sniper team was positioned inside the building Crooks fired from. But Shannon, now there are conflicting reports that say that sniper team was actually in a nearby building. Lawmakers hope to get some transparency at upcoming hearings. We know that bomb-making materials found inside Crooks' home are now at the FBI's lab in Quantico. Back to you.
All
right, CB Cotton reporting from Butler, Pennsylvania. CB, thank you very much.
He had a
Joining us
bomb
now, Kentucky Congressman
somewhere.
and House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer. Congressman, welcome. We know yours is the first hearing in this investigation to start off tomorrow. Do you have assurances that the Secret Service Director is indeed going to be there?
Well, she told us yesterday that she was going to be there. We fully expect her to be there. I subpoenaed her, so she's going to have to honor that subpoena or she's going to pay the price. The American people have lots of questions, and they deserve answers. And this hearing tomorrow will serve as the beginning of that process to get answers for the American people as to what went wrong with an agency that has a no-fail mission.
Well, so last week, when we were still on the air Saturday night reporting on this as it was all unfolding, there were some outlets, one in particular, the Federalist, said they had sources telling them that the Trump group had asked for more assets, more resources, and they were denied or unanswered. The next day, we got this from the Secret Service. There's an untrue assertion that a member of the former president's team requested additional security resources, and those were rebuffed. This is absolutely false. They go on to say they added protective resources, technologies, and capability. But then overnight, from the Washington Post, we get this report talking about agents who were protecting the president, said that they asked for more magnetometers, more agents. There were all kinds of things they needed for these large gatherings, and that they were sometimes denied. So where does the truth lie?
Well, we're going to find out tomorrow with the director, but it's my understanding that the Trump campaign did ask for more resources, and it's my understanding that the Secret Service denied those resources. Now, days after the assassination attempt, a spokesperson for the Secret Service denied the Trump reports that they had requested more resources, but then, as you noted in the Washington Post story, it was confirmed that, in fact, the Trump campaign did ask for more. Look, the Secret Service has a budget of $3.1 billion. They have thousands of employees. There aren't that many people that require Secret Service protection. There aren't that many events that the Secret Service have to secure. So the budget is more than enough to provide adequate protection for the presidential candidate. So we have a lot of questions as to how they're managing their money. But if you look at the history of the House Oversight Committee dating back to when Jason Chaffetz was chairman of this committee, there have been lots of investigations of the Secret Service. There have been lots of reports issued that they lack proper training, that they did not efficiently spend their funds. So our question for the Director Cheadle is, are you competent to run the Secret Service? We want to know who's at fault for what happened. Every American can tell that there should have never been allowed anyone on that roof. And the fact that there are videos showing that people were trying to notify the authorities that there was a person on the roof with a gun and nothing was done about it, and that shooter was allowed to get that many shots off.
And Homeland Security is over top of that.
We think not only do we need answers, but people need to be held accountable. And that's what the director is going to have to answer tomorrow. She's going to have about a 6-hour hearing, and she's going to have hundreds of questions that she's going to have to answer, and the American people will be watching that hearing.
We know for one of the other committees, and there are multiple committees here in the House that have started these investigations. One of them has now, Homeland Security, they have subpoenaed Secretary Mayorkas because they said he's declined to show up. They're asking for documents and other information. Is the House prepared to take action against Secretary Mayorkas if he defies that subpoena?
I hope so. We've already impeached him in the House, and in the Senate just turned a blind eye to the debacle at the southern border. If you look at all the agencies under the Homeland Security banner, FEMA, the Secret
That
Service,
needs to be
Border Patrol,
disbanded.
Mayorkas clearly is not up to the job. I mean, Mayorkas has been a disaster for the American people. You name the agency, and there are 19 agencies under Homeland Security. That Homeland Security was created after September 11th. You made a bunch of bureaucracies even more bureaucratic. And then you have a leader like Mayorkas, who I have zero confidence in. I think the Republican conference has already expressed our confidence level in Mayorkas by the fact that we have already impeached him. So it's not surprising that when the assassination happened, our committee communicated quickly with Director Cheadle and the Secret Service. But then days later, the Homeland Security stepped in and tried to cut off that communication. Homeland Security tried to block Cheadle from coming to testify to our committee when she had already agreed to testify. That's when I issued the subpoena. Now she has to come, but we shouldn't have to issue a subpoena. Director Cheadle should want to be transparent with the American people. This is one of the darkest days in the history of America. This was a huge debacle. And yet the American people 1 week later have no answers to the many questions that we have. This has been a public relations disaster for the Secret Service. Tomorrow, hopefully, we'll begin to get answers. But not only do we need answers, and not only do we need to hold someone accountable, we need to make sure that this problem is fixed and that we have our President Biden, President Trump, their family members, that they are protected throughout this campaign and into the next term.
I want to ask you quickly about the issue of whistleblowers because it's something that Senator Josh Hawley, Republican on the other side of the Hill, has brought up. He has a lot of questions, and he's asked Secretary Mayorkas to answer these as well. He says the detection canines were not used to monitor entry and detect threats in the usual manner, according to whistleblowers. Individuals without proper designations were able to gain access to backstage areas. Department personnel did not appropriately police the security buffer around the podium and were also not stationed at regular intervals around the event's security perimeter. Have you heard from any whistleblowers? What can Congress do to protect people who, may still want to come forward but are very fearful?
We've heard from a lot of whistleblowers. They're coming forward, and I think they're the sources of a lot of the press stories that have come out. Look, the morale at the Secret Service has always been low, but it's gotten lower. We're going to talk about that in the hearing. We have a lot of specific questions. Why weren't drones used? There are reports that the shooter had a drone just a few hours before the event, scoping it out. There are reports that there were Secret Service in the building where the shooter was on the roof, but they didn't go on the roof because it was too hot. We have lots of questions. And look, this director has done nothing over the past 7 days to assure the American people that she's able to lead the Secret Service and that the problems have been resolved. I think we've got an agency in peril here. The American people are restless, whether you're a Republican or Democrat. Every American is outraged that we have a Secret Service with a budget of $3.1 billion with thousands of employees that failed to identify this threat to President Trump. How many other threats are out there, and will this trigger more events where there are copycat shooters and people like that? We've got to instill confidence in the American people that we have a Secret Service that's up to the job, and right now I don't think we have that.
Well, we will be watching. Everyone will. This hearing tomorrow, we know that there are scores and scores of good people who work in Secret Service who are risking their lives every day, and you need answers from leadership, so we'll watch. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you.
Amid speculation that the